we want to simplify the given powers of I. Before we do this, let's look at some powers of I, starting in I raised to the power of 0. We know from our exponent rules, I to the 0 is equal to 1. Next, I to the first is equal to I. By definition, we know I squared is equal to negative 1. For I cubed, we can write I cubed as I squared times I. And since I squared is equal to negative 1, I cubed is equal to negative 1 times I, which is equal to negative I. Next, we have I to the fourth. I to the fourth is equal to I squared times I squared. And since I squared is equal to negative 1, I to the fourth is equal to negative 1 times negative 1, which is equal to positive 1. So knowing that I to the fourth is equal to positive 1 will better help us understand how to simplify higher powers of I. To simplify I raised to the power of n, we will write I raised to the power of n in the form of I to the fourth raised to the power of q times I raised to the power of r, where q, the exponent on I to the fourth, is the quotient of n, where n is the original exponent, divided by 4, and the exponent r, the exponent on the leftover factors of I, is the remainder. So we always take the original exponent, divide by 4, the quotient gives us the exponent q, and the remainder gives us the exponent r. And the remainder is what indicates whether the expression simplifies to I negative 1, negative I, or 1. And that's because I to the fourth is equal to 1, so 1 raised to the power of q is always 1, leaving us with I to the power of r. And since we're dividing by 4, the remainder is always going to be 0, 1, 2, or 3. If the remainder is 0, the power of I simplifies to 1. If the remainder is 1, the power of I simplifies to I. If the remainder is 2, the power of I simplifies to negative 1. And if the remainder is 3, the power of I simplifies to negative I. Let's take a look at some examples. First, we have I raised to the power of 23. We always begin by dividing the given exponent by 4. So we have 23 divided by 4. There are 5 4s in 23. 5 times 4 is 20. We subtract, the remainder is 3. So the quotient is 5, so q is 5, and the remainder is 3, and therefore r is 3. So because r is 3, we know I raised to the power of 23 is going to simplify to negative I, but let's show some work by writing I to the 23rd in this form here. I to the 23rd is equal to I to the fourth raised to the power of q, which is 5, and then times I raised to the power of r, where r is 3. Notice how we still have 23 factors of I here, but since I to the fourth is equal to 1, 1 to the fifth power is still 1, giving us 1 times I cubed, and we know I cubed is equal to negative I. 1 times negative I is negative I, verifying the result. Next we have I raised to the power of 72. We begin by dividing 72 by 4. There's 1, 4, and 7. We subtract. Difference is 3. Bring down the 2. There are exactly 8 4s in 32. 8 times 4 is 32. We subtract. The difference is 0. So we have a quotient of 18, so q is 18. The remainder is 0, and therefore r is 0. Because r is 0, I to the 72nd power will simplify to 1. But again, let's show some work. I to the 72nd power is equal to I to the fourth raised to the power of q, which is 18, times I raised to the power of r. The remainder is 0. I to the fourth is 1. 1 to the 18th power is 1. I to the 0 power is also 1. 1 times 1 is 1, verifying the result. Next we have I raised to the power of 37. We begin by dividing 37 by 4. There are 9 4s in 37. 9 times 4 is 36. The difference is 1. The quotient is 9 and the remainder is 1. Because the remainder is 1, we know I to the 37th will simplify to positive I. But again, let's show some work. I to the 37th power is equal to I to the fourth raised to the power of q, which is 9, times I raised to the power of r, which is 1. I to the fourth is equal to 1. 1 to the 9th is 1. So we have 1 times I to the first is just I. 1 times I is I. Again, verifying the result. And for our last example, we have I raised to the power of 46. We divide 46 by 4. There's 1, 4, and 4. We subtract, bring down the 6. There's 1, 4, and 6. 1 times 4 is 4. We subtract, the remainder is 2. Because the remainder is 2, we know the result is going to be -1, but again, that shows some work. I to the 46th power is equal to I to the 4th raised to the power of q, which is 11, times I raised to the power of r, which is 2. I to the 4th is 1. 1 to the 11th power is 1, times I squared. I squared is -1. 1 times -1 is -1. Once again, verifying the result. I hope you found this helpful.